McFarlane Toys, a subsidiary of Todd McFarlane Productions, Inc., is a company started by Todd McFarlane that makes highly detailed models of characters from movies, comics, popular music, video games and sporting genres. McFarlane has attracted both acclaim and criticism for offering a select range of action figurines that graphically depict torture, mutilation, bondage and murder. Overview. In 1994, Todd McFarlane was working with Mattel to produce action figures based on his comic book characters. When the two could not decide on how to make the toys to McFarlane's satisfaction, he reclaimed the toy rights to his characters and started his own toy company. Originally dubbed Todd's Toys, the name was changed in 1995 following pressure from Mattel, who feared that the new company's name would be confused with that of Barbie's younger brother. Production began with action figures based upon Todd McFarlane's Spawn comic series and has since grown to feature a large number of licensed property lines including The Simpsons and Movie Maniacs, as well as other characters and lines like basketball and baseball legends, video game characters, other media such as storybook characters from Where the Wild Things Are have been represented. The company has made original works, giving a grotesque twist to fairy tale stories, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, and historical figures. McFarlane has collaborated with artists like Clive Barker and H.R. Giger to produce other original figures. Spawn figures. The first line of Spawn toys ever produced was released in 1994 and consisted of 6 figures. The hero Spawn and his medieval counterpart with Tremor and the villains Violator, Overkill, and Clown, as well as a Spawn Alley playset, the Spawn Mobile and the Violator Monster Rig. They were notably different from the toys common on shelves at the time because of their level of detail in both sculpting and painting. Other toys utilized only a few colors painted in general areas and were tacked to cardboard backs. McFarlane's figures had individual items such as spikes, teeth, claws, and buttons painted individually and packaged encased by hard plastic that surrounded both the figure and blister card, making them more suitable collector's items. Each toy in the first line came with a regular-sized comic, which were individualized to the character. In later years, the series would include alternate time frames and different takes on the classic characters with Series 10, 20 and 30, showing homage to the core characters of the books. McFarlane's Dragons. McFarlane's Dragons are a line of action figures that was launched in 2005 under the horror, fantasy and sci-fi action figures section of McFarlane Toys. These figures were released biannually. The set features several highly detailed 6-inch dragon action figures and a slightly larger and more expansive boxed set figure. For the first 5 series, the figures were broken into these clans: Eternal Dragon Clan, Fire Dragon Clan, Komodo Dragon Clan, Sorcerer's Dragon Clan, Water Dragon Clan, and Berserker Clan. Series 6 includes new clans: Fossil Dragon Clan, Hunter Dragon Clan, Ice Dragon Clan, Scavenger Dragon Clan, and Warrior Dragon Clan. In addition to these highly detailed dragons, McFarlane released a part of the dragon's history with each dragon set. Some had a piece of the story with each dragon, and some had whole chunks of the story in one boxed set. Horror figures. Company owner, founder, Todd McFarlane, had been a long-time fan of the horror genre and decided to produce his own perspective on the classic monsters with the Todd McFarlane's Monsters Playsets line in 1997. McFarlane continued the idea of generating new versions of classic stories and characters, releasing a shocking line subtitled Twisted Land of Oz in 2003, which featured vicious or sadistic versions of the Wonderful Wizard of Oz characters created by L. Frank Baum. In 2004, the third series, subtitled 6 Faces of Madness, used historical killers and madmen as its theme, generating vividly detailed figurines of the 5th century conqueror Tia the Hun, American Wild West gunslinger Billy the Kid, the Mad Monk Rasputin, the British serial killer Jack the Ripper, the Hungarian Blood Queen Elizabeth Bathory, and the real-life inspiration for Dracula, Vlad the Impaler. The fourth series featured twisted fairy tales. The figures were of classic children's stories, including Peter Pumpkin-Eater, Hansel and Gretel, Little Miss Muffet, Humpty Dumpty, and Red Riding Hood, and incorporated many of the gory elements that consumers had come to expect from McFarlane, but with a sense of ironic humor. Series 5 featured McFarlane's Twisted Christmas. Like the previous series, the figures all are twisted variations of Christmas, including a hunchback and obese Santa Claus who hides a lifeless skull under a gas mask-like headpiece and wears contraptions on his hands similar to the glove of Freddy Krueger. Movie Maniacs. In 1998, McFarlane introduced the Movie Maniacs line of figures. Series 1 began as a line of horror and science fiction-based figures that had been licensed from influential and financially successful horror films such as A Nightmare on Elm Street, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Friday the 13th. The second series of figures expanded the character base for the line into the realms of cult and action cinema with a figure based on the title character to the Crow. Series 3 would further push the boundaries of character selection into fantasy, with Edward Scissorhands, straight action with Shaft, and back into cult sci-fi with Escape from L.A. These conventions would continue, with character selections in future series frequently containing a mix of many, or even all of these various film genres, much to the chagrin of a small section of fans and collectors who, incorrectly, saw the line as being meant to be horror-specific. Music figures. McFarlane Toys did not solely limit itself to creating figures based on Todd McFarlane's creations. Rather, it branched out into other forms of media, capitalizing on the popularity of famous rock musicians with the release of figures based on the rock legends Kiss in 1997. The number of music figures produced by the company continued to grow in number, diversity, and quality in the following years as they acquired the action figure rights to famous properties such as the Beatles, Rob Zombie, Alice Cooper, Ozzy Osbourne, Metallica, Slash, Iron Maiden's mascot Eddie, Jimi Hendrix, Freddie Mercury, and Elvis Presley. Kiss in 1997. Action figures were part of an overall marketing deal between McFarlane Toys and the rock band Kiss, with both toys and comic books based on their album Psycho Circus. Release of new Kiss products from McFarlane continues to the present day. The Beatles, the second musical property that McFarlane released, was based on the immensely popular pop culture icons, the Beatles, featuring figures of Paul McCartney, John Lennon, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr as they appeared in their 1968 animated movie Yellow Submarine, as well as their appearance in the 1965 ABC cartoon show also titled The Beatles, or commonly known to fans as Saturday Morning Cartoon. It is interesting to note that, despite 3-figure series based on cartoon versions of the band, no figures of the real-life band members have been created by McFarlane Toys. The Simpsons. In 2005, McFarlane acquired the rights to produce figures based on the popular Fox TV series The Simpsons. The Mackenzie Brothers. Released in September 2000, the figures were based on the characters of SCTV and Strange Brew fame, Bob and Doug Mackenzie, originally portrayed by Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas, respectively. The figures were sold separately and each came with half of the diorama from the Great White North set. Each had a sound chip with famous lines from the film and various extras to complete the scene. McFarlane's military. The company gave a modern-day revival to the classic toy soldier with the release of McFarlane's Military in 2005, which capitalized on the fervor and media coverage surrounding the American military and support for its soldiers serving abroad. The figures did not depict actual people so much as it did their professions, named simply by their job descriptions. such as Army Ranger or Navy SEAL. All were of stern-looking males in full military gear, with highly detailed weapons and accessories modeled after the exact materials each soldier would be carrying in real life. Sports figures. McFarlane Toys reflects Todd McFarlane's love of sports in its creations of popular figures from all 5 major North American sports. The company has official licensing rights to the major professional leagues of all of these sports, and began this line, officially known as McFarlane Sports Picks, in 2001. Television action figures. In January 2007, McFarlane Toys announced plans for a line of 24 action figures. Other series figures have included Lost and The Walking Dead. Controversy. A number of McFarlane's figures have drawn comments, triggered boycotts and created controversy, such as Death Row Marv based on a character from the Sin City comic. Others, such as Austin Powers, were criticized for risque language in their sound chips and packaging.